This Man City attack is scary again, and this time it feels different. Not because they're back to their old selves, but because they've become something harder to predict and harder to stop.
Don't get me wrong, City scored some nice goals today, but it was way too easy for City to score those goals.
Because just weeks ago, this same team got exposed. A 5-1 aggregate defeat to Real Madrid didn't just knock them out of the Champions League, it revealed a City side that had become too safe, too predictable, too easy to control. But what followed is where it gets dangerous. Pep Guardiola didn't try to fix control, he changed the attack. Now they still dominate the ball, but they hurt you faster. Erling Haaland still leads the line, 22 league goals, 80+ shots, but now he's not the only threat anymore. Antoine Semenyo brings power and directness. Rayan Cherki brings creativity that doesn't wait. Jérémy Doku brings chaos that breaks structure. And suddenly, this is no longer an attack you can prepare for with one plan. They've already beaten Arsenal in a final. They've just put 4 past Liverpool. And while others are still fighting in Europe, City are fully focused on the run-in. So, this isn't about City returning to what they were. This is about what they're becoming. This is exactly why Manchester City's attack looks scary again, and why that should worry everyone.
Real Madrid didn't just knock Manchester City out of Europe, they exposed them. Because by the time that tie was over, this didn't feel like one bad night or an unfortunate draw gone wrong. It felt like a team being shown, clearly, publicly, uncomfortably, exactly where it had become vulnerable. City lost the round of 16 tie 5-1 on aggregate, 3-0 at the Bernabeu on March 11th, 2-1 at the Etihad on March 17th. And that scoreline matters because it captured more than defeat. It captured a side that looked stretched without the ball, too predictable with it, and far less intimidating than the Guardiola machine everyone spent years being terrified of. But the warning signs were already there before Madrid even finished the job. Through early to late March, City's form had started wobbling at exactly the wrong time. On March 4th, they were held 2-2 at home by Nottingham Forest, twice taking the lead, twice being dragged back. They couldn't put the game away. Then came the first leg disaster in Madrid. 3 days after that, they went to West Ham and drew 1-1 in a match they completely dominated. 71% possession, 17 total shots, 15 corners, 6 shots on target, and still dropped points. That is the key detail that keeps reappearing. The control was there, the damage wasn't. And that is exactly why the Madrid tie felt like exposure rather than misfortune. The old City would suffocate you, pin you back, recycle the ball with almost insulting patience until your defensive shape cracked from the inside, and make the whole match feel like one long, inescapable trap. This City, in that stretch, kept running into the same problem. They could dominate phases without truly scaring teams enough. Even Guardiola admitted it after the West Ham draw, saying City needed more threat to go with their control. That line matters. When the manager says it out loud, you know it's not just the media being dramatic. Possession alone was no longer enough. So when Madrid beat them, the result was brutal, but the feeling was worse. The first leg was especially damaging because Real didn't just defend City, they punished them. Federico Valverde scored a half-time hat-trick in the 3-0 win at the Bernabeu, the kind of performance that makes a whole team look at each other during the half-time interval and quietly question some life decisions. City were chasing a tie that already felt beyond them before the second half had even started. And even though the second leg was complicated by City going down to 10 men for over 70 minutes, Guardiola's reaction afterwards was genuinely revealing. He didn't hide behind excuses. He spoke about learning, about younger players like Kusanov, Cherki and Semeno experiencing this level for the first time, about the team coming back stronger. That's the emotional trigger for this whole story. Madrid forced Guardiola to look at his team without the old illusions. City could still have the ball, City could still build pressure, City could still look like Manchester City, elegant, organised, technically superior to almost everyone. But they were no longer hurting teams early enough, directly enough, or often enough. They had become a little too manageable, a little too polite. And against elite opposition, and even against stubborn Premier League sides like Forest and West Ham, polite gets you punished. So what changed after that wasn't a total reinvention, it was a correction, because the tactical shift had already been hinted at earlier in the season. Premier League analysis pointed to Guardiola's renewed interest in more direct football, particularly through Jérémy Doku's wing play and the developing Cherki-Haaland connection. But after that March collapse, the need for it became impossible to ignore. City still wanted control, that part never changed, but now there was a clearer, more deliberate emphasis on threat, more vertical passing, quicker attacks, earlier balls into dangerous spaces, less empty recycling around a defensive block that had already decided it wasn't moving. They still dominate games, they just hurt you faster now. And when Guardiola went back to the drawing board, he didn't rebuild the control, he rebuilt the attack. And once that change happened, everything around Haaland changed.
Haaland is scary again, but not because he suddenly became a different striker. He became scary again because Manchester City stopped asking him to carry the entire attack by himself. That is the real change, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. As of March 25th, Haaland led the Premier League with 22 goals and had taken 84 shots, comfortably the highest total in City's squad. But the more important number sits right behind him. Antoine Semenyo was next on 59 shots, and Rayan Cherki had already produced 8 assists and 21 through balls, the second highest through ball total in the entire division. That tells you everything about the new shape of this attack. Haaland is still the finisher, still the box monster, still the player defenders genuinely lose sleep over, but now the danger around him is forcing defenders to split their attention in a way they simply couldn't before. And when a striker like Haaland stops being the one obvious problem and becomes the problem you notice too late, that's when things get really uncomfortable for everyone trying to stop him. You could already see that balance in the Carabao Cup final against Arsenal on March 22nd. The goals came from Nico O'Reilly, not from Haaland, Semeno or Cherki, but that actually strengthens the point rather than weakening it. City won 2-0, had 61% possession, recorded 32 attacks into the area compared to Arsenal's 15, and generated 2.29 XG to Arsenal's 1.12. This wasn't a smash and grab cup final. This was City slowly suffocating Arsenal until the game broke open. The way a python works, if you'll forgive the slightly dramatic comparison. Tactically, the front line was the entire reason Arsenal got pinned. City pressed high in a 4-2-3-1, Cherki joining Haaland in the first line of the press, Doku staying high on the left, Semeno varying his height on the right before pushing higher as the half progressed. That shape cut off Arsenal's ability to play through midfield and gradually turned their early momentum into sterile possession. Then, with the ball, City shifted into a back three, pushed O'Reilly higher to support Doku, used Cherki in the right inside channel, and held Semenyo wide to isolate defenders one-on-one. By the second half, Arsenal were locked in their own half with no clean way out. The goals were headers. The danger came from the structure City's attackers created around them. And then came the FA Cup quarter-final against Liverpool on April 4th. City won 4-0, Haaland scored a hat-trick. But, and this is the critical part, that hat-trick didn't arrive because City just found Haaland and got out of the way. It came from the collective pressure City kept applying to Liverpool's backline until it cracked. Semenyo crossed for Haaland's second. Cherki assisted Semeno for the third. City's front four, Semeno, Cherki, Haaland and Doku, were pressing high and overwhelming Liverpool's shape, forcing the game into City's kind of chaos, the kind where Liverpool's defenders are turning, scrambling and making decisions they really didn't want to make. Now let's talk about Semeno, because he's a massive part of why this attack feels different. City didn't sign him as a luxury option. They signed him because he already looked like one of the Premier League's most complete attackers. Before the move was completed on January 9, 2026, Premier League analysis noted that only Haaland and Brentford's Igor Thiago had scored more league goals than Semenyo's 10 at that stage, and only those two had more goal contributions than his 15. He was also highlighted for his two-footedness, his work rate, and the fact that he ranked second among Premier League forwards for recoveries per 90. That last detail matters more than people realise. Semenyo doesn't just add goals, he adds force, repeat sprints, duels, second balls, attacking space like he fully expects to win it. Against Arsenal, analysts described him as City's most promising first-half threat through his dangerous 1v1 play on the right, where his rotations with Cherki kept creating new attacking pitches for Arsenal to solve. Against Liverpool, same energy, now with production attached. Cross for Haaland's second, goal of his own after Cherki clayed him in. He plays like he wants to drive through defences, not just probe them politely and wait for something to happen. Then there's Cherki, and this is where the attack becomes genuinely difficult to read. Cherki doesn't give City safe creativity, he gives them aggressive creativity. 8 assists, 21 through balls by March 25th. And his relationship with Haaland is developing into something that is becoming genuinely problematic for defenders. In the 3-1 win over Bournemouth on November 2nd, Cherki assisted Haaland twice, with analysts specifically highlighting how quickly City could travel from back to front once Cherki found pockets behind midfield. One of those goals began with a long clearance and ended with Haaland scoring after fewer than 5 passes. Haaland himself called Cherki's assists that day amazing. And when Erling Haaland is calling your passing amazing, you're probably doing something right. Guardiola called him one of the most talented players he's ever worked with. And you can see why, because Cherki doesn't control games in the traditional City sense. He breaks them open, he finds pockets in the right inside channel, drifts wider to combine, then plays the kind of disguised pass that makes you rewind the clip twice just to figure out how he even saw it. In the cup final against Arsenal, finding space in the inside channel, combining with Semenyo, keeping the pressure building. Against Liverpool, releasing Semenyo for Haaland's second, then threading him in again for the third. In both cases, the decisive moments ran through Cherki before they arrived at Haaland. So when people say Haaland looks dangerous again, the truth is bigger than Haaland himself. He's still elite, still the one who finishes the move. But now he's operating inside an attack with more runners, more creators, more duel winning power, and more players who can actually finish sequences themselves where needed. Defenders can no longer sit deep and simply try to manage Haaland. They have Semenyo running at them from one side, Doku threatening on the other, and Cherki finding the pass they didn't see coming from somewhere in the middle. Haaland doesn't need to carry the attack anymore, and that is exactly what makes him deadlier, because City don't come at you with one weapon anymore. But raw power without unpredictability only gets you so far, and when you add creativity to the chaos, that's when it becomes genuinely unfair.
Here's what makes Manchester City genuinely frightening right now. Not just the names, not just the form, the structure. This is no longer an attack you stop by shadowing Haaland and hoping the rest becomes harmless. Every part of this front line does a different job, and those jobs connect. Haaland, the finisher, 22 goals, 84 shots. Semeno, power and volume, 59 shots, second in the squad. Cherki, the creator, 8 assists, 21 through balls. Doku, the destabilizer, pure disorder, 4 different problems arriving simultaneously. Sit deep to stop Haaland, Cherki finds pockets and changes the angle before you reset. Overload the inside to stop Cherki, Doku and Semenyo isolate fullbacks outside. Step out to kill the wide threats, Haaland attacks the space you just left. There is no clean answer anymore. The Carabao Cup final against Arsenal proved it. The attackers didn't need to score to prove the attack was working. They created the pressure, the width, the rotations, and the territorial control that broke the game open. Arsenal spent the second half locked in their own half with nowhere to go. The old City suffocated you with control. This version still wants control, but now it wants early damage too.
faster, more direct, less readable, and that makes it dangerous for Arsenal specifically. Arsenal are balancing the title race with a Champions League quarter-final against Sporting CP, April 7th and 15th. City are out of Europe, already have the Carabao Cup, and are into the FA Cup semi-finals. More fixtures for Arsenal, more fatigue, more pressure. City with fewer distractions and an attack evolving at exactly the moment title races become unforgiving. Real Madrid exposed Manchester City, but what came after doesn't look like a team trying to recover. It looks like a team becoming something entirely different and in some ways more dangerous than before.